back, AdventureBlur here. So we are officially 2 years into the IDW run of Sonic the Hedgehog. With 2 arcs, a special, and a mini-series, this series has done quite a bit in that time. And overall, I would say that for once, everyone in the community is pretty happy with the series. Sure, it's not perfect, and I think this last arc in particular is bugging some fans, but I'd say that it is a worthy addition to the series. But what makes it so good? What do they do right that makes me want to read a new issue every time a new one comes out? Well, let's look at the series as a whole and figure out just that. Now going into this, you have to understand that there is quite a bit of controversy around the IDW series. After over 20 years of comics, the Archie Sonic series was ended unceremoniously on a cliffhanger. For some reason, Archie didn't want to keep making Sonic comics. So soon IDW came in and got the rights, and decided to make their own comics without any of the baggage from the previous years. To say that this made fans angry is an understatement. People followed the Archie Sonic characters and world for years, and already dealt with a ton of controversies at that point, and made it out okay. So to have this beloved series end and not be concluded was a jerk move. Honestly, there wasn't a good way around this for IDW. But they did try their best to reassure fans about this new iteration. Almost all the major staff that was working on the Archie series at the time were going to work on the IDW series. And in this series, unlike the Archie series, it would be focused on continuing the stories of the games instead of occasionally adapting them. This did come with some drawbacks, like how the IDW Sonic series is technically not canon, even though it really should be, but overall it was a smart call. I can say from experience that one of Archie's biggest problems was how the game's lore was handled. It was this weird thing where sometimes the games would be adapted, or otherwise it would be mentioned as always happening. Plus there was the old Sonic cartoon, and it was just, that is a whole other video in and of itself.
Well, the reason's unimportant. It was part of a different emotionally scarring backstory. I'm not getting into it. Regardless.
In April of 2018, the IDW Sonic series officially began, and I loved it. I made a whole review series on it for about a year and a half, and a ton of other people enjoyed it as well. I remember people, both hardcore fans and people who only knew the character from videos they'd seen, falling in love with this new iteration. It was a pretty great time to be a fan. The story of the first arc was pretty straightforward. Taking place right after Sonic Forces, the world is still recovering from Eggman's invasion when hordes of Eggman robots suddenly start attacking different areas again. Sonic and the others try to find and stop Eggman, only to find out that Eggman pulled a shadow in Anastasia and has amnesia now. Sonic and the others then follow more clues just to find out it was actually Metal Sonic in charge of the attacks, which leads to Metal going back into his Metal Overlord form, Angel Island being attacked, and a lot of cool fan servicey stuff happening. And in the end, the day is saved and Metal is captured and loses all of its attack functions, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. The first arc was, to put it bluntly, perfection. It was simple, yet they made up for that with nothing but character moments. Sonic and Shadow discuss whether it's right to end Eggman even though Eggman is peaceful now. You have Amy becoming more of a hero in her own right instead of always going after Sonic. You get more Blades of Silver. That last one alone is worth like an Oscar, Emmy, Grammy, Game Awards, award, everything in my book, so. More Blades of Silver! From seeing old faces like the Chaotix again, to meeting new heroes like Whisper and Tangle, this first arc was a great introduction to this new Sonic world. And a lot of this has to do with how they handled the lore. There was never a moment in the first arc where you felt like you were missing out if you never played a Sonic game. Sure, there was a ton of Easter eggs and references to different games, characters, and stories, but it felt natural how they did it. It was the perfect way of bringing new fans up to speed on stuff like the arc and the hero's story while also winking at longtime fans. And that's not even mentioning the art styles they did for the series. Each new issue had a ton of great artwork and designs for all the characters. No matter how different they did it, it always felt like Sonic and always felt right. It just was amazing. Now after this arc, there are a ton of places they could go with this series. And guess what they did? Zombies. A flippin' zombie story. But it somehow turned out to be good. To put it simply, Eggman is found by Dr. Starline, a fanboy of his, and Starline helps Eggman become a villain again, after which Eggman decides to go on the offensive and attack the world using a virus that turns living things into metallic zombies. or Zombots. Yes, that is the official term. Anyways, after a few fights, Sonic gets infected with it, and the only way for him to stop it from controlling him completely is by running as fast as possible. This will not cure him, but it does delay the poison. Now, as of recording this video, this arc is still going and hasn't been concluded yet. What we do have so far is a pretty solid story. It's definitely not as good as the first arc, but it's still a fantastic addition to the series. Seeing Eggman as the big bad again is always fun, and this iteration of him that we see in this arc is one of the best we've ever had. It's as if they mixed the more serious and darker Eggman of Adventure 1 and 2 with the humor of the Sonic Boom Eggman. He also has some pretty great character moments, especially in some of the more recent issues, where he does contemplate everything he's done. Starline is also another crucial character of the arc that is a really good character. He's one of those characters that you know is going to be a villain in his own right soon, but seeing him work with Eggman and call Eggman out for his failures is really fun to read. This arc is also surprisingly dark, at least for Sonic. But this arc really does go out of its way to make the reader understand the danger of the virus and what it does. Eggman created a threat no one can really control, and unlike almost every other time where it's some sort of monster that he was using, this virus doesn't have a mind of its own. It's a mindless chaos that destroys everything, and seeing the greater cast of the Sonic universe deal with it hits hard. Especially some of the layer stuff. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but read the Tangle and Whisper miniseries before you start this second arc. Trust me, it helps. It also helps me transition into talking about Tangle and Whisper. I'm going to be honest here, when their miniseries was first announced, I was skeptical. Not because of the characters, I think they're amazing, but more about the timing. The IDW series was still very new at the time of the announcement, so seeing them already give two new characters a miniseries this early on was a strange move in my eyes. I mean, look at the Archie series. Outside of the original Sonic miniseries that started it all, the first miniseries it had was the Sally Acorn one, which came out around issue 20, I think. Plus, Sally was already a well-known character by that point, thanks to the TV show. Tangle and Whisper don't have either going for them. By the time of the sneak peek of the series called Issue 0, Tangle was barely a year old, with her first appearance being in Issue 4 in April of the previous year. And Whisper was a few months off of her 1-year anniversary as well. But all of that aside, how did this miniseries turn out? Well, like everything else IDW Sonic, really good. The plot of the series is pretty simple. Whisper is going after an ex-ally of hers, and Tangle joins Whisper in the fight. It's simple and straightforward, and honestly isn't the focus of the miniseries at all. The miniseries is almost completely about exploring who Tangle and Whisper are as characters, and fleshing them out. They've already had a ton of great moments in the main IDW series, but this miniseries made sure both their skills and personalities are in the spotlight. Honestly, that about sums up what makes the IDW series so good in my eyes. Yes, it has amazing art. Yes, it has some epic stories that bring in things from all across the Sonic universe. What makes the IDW series something I look forward to every month is really how they handle the characters. Everyone gets their moment to shine and be a hero or villain again. You can't really do that in a game, at least not easily. But in comic form, it fits perfectly. The series isn't there to replace the games, it's meant to expand on them. The series makes you understand who Eggman is, who Tails is, who Metal Sonic is, and most importantly, who Sonic the Hedgehog is. Now, if you're interested in checking out the series, then I would recommend starting at the very beginning with issue 1. It's been a little while since it first came out, but you should be able to find it for fairly cheap. Outside of that, I would recommend the IDW Sonic Annual from last year, and if you love that, you will definitely enjoy the Tangle and Whisper miniseries. Basically, I recommend all of it. So, as always, this is AdventureBlur, and I will see you next time.